Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick with the Notorious Fantasy. In today's video, I'm bringing you guys a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. We're going to be talking about all of my picks in this mock draft, as well as the picks that are going around me in the draft. So if you guys want more content like this, if at any point you end up enjoying this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It's free, and I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. This is the third video of today. So without further ado, we are going to get right into it. Also, actually, if you guys want some more info, check out the Patreon. Has all of my rankings as well as some other information on there that you might want to read. So this draft has 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. We're doing it on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard, so we're going to be drafting against the computer. This time we're going to go up against Composite ADP, ESPN ADP, Fantrax ADP, as well as RT Sports ADP in this draft to try to get a good feel of how a real draft is going to go from the 12th pick in a 12-team league. Now, the 12th pick is actually one of my favorite picks in a 12-team league. I really prefer to draft towards the back half of the draft since I feel like you can load up on a nice 1-2 punch at the running back position at that spot. I know some people don't like it because they're not going to be able to get one of those top 4 running backs, Kamara, Zeke, Saquon, and CMC. But hey, that's not even my draft strategy anyways. I prefer to draft back here and load up on 2 studs at the position rather than just have 1. So if we're looking at the draft board after the first few picks of the draft, obviously we're at pick 12. So we got that beautiful turn pick that I love so much. First pick of the draft is CMC, followed by Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Hopkins, and Miles Sanders. So the computer was absolutely unfazed by the news that Alvin Kamara may end up holding out. Now, he's not been going to camp, so I have no idea what's happening with Alvin Kamara. I believe he's going to start playing as well. I don't really see a way that he holds out for any time, and if he does, I just think the Saints are just going to give him a contract, so I'm not all too worried about that. Joe Mixon, the news came out earlier. I made a whole video about it. Joe Mixon did end up signing a new deal for a 4-year deal, so now he's on the Cincinnati Bengals for 5 more years, so he's going to be perfectly fine as well. No need to worry about Joe Mixon. I personally believed he would sign a new deal, and he did, so I was right about that. So now it is our turn to make our pick here inside of the first round. We got those back-to-back picks, so we're probably going to load up onto running backs here. 3 wide receivers go in the first round. That's pretty typical. You're going to see the range of 1 wide receiver to, I'd say, 3 or 4 inside of the first round. Typically, you never see more than 4. The first 2 rounds of the drafts are heavily dominated by the wide receiver position, or by the running back position, and then rounds 3, 4, and 5 is where you're going to see a lot of wide receivers come off the board, as well as some quarterbacks and tight ends. So right now, wide receiver, Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, all still available. All definitely fine picks here, but I like to load up on my running backs early here so that I have a comfortable start at the draft of my 2 running backs. Then later in the draft, I can start snagging the wide receivers and feel very comfortable with how my team is laid out. So with the first pick of this draft, we're going to go ahead and go with Joe Mixon, running back of the Cincinnati Bengals. I said he signed a new deal. I'm very happy with Joe Mixon. I think he has top 5 potential at the running back position. The coaches are saying he's going to be more involved in the pass-catching game, so that is just words going straight into my ears and having sexual intercourse with my brain because I love Joe Mixon. I really see a lot of upside here in this Bengals offense with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, there was camp footage of him dumping the ball off to Joe Mixon, so it's definitely possible that he is more involved in the pass-catching game this year, and now with that new deal, there's no reason to fade Joe Mixon out of the first round, and here we're going to be able to snag Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler on the exact same team. Austin Eckler, also one of my favorite running backs alongside of Joe Mixon. Austin Eckler is one of those guys that I just love to draft. He's a guy that is, to me, Christian McCaffrey light. This guy, while not as good as Christian McCaffrey for fantasy football purposes, he possesses the same skill set that Mr. CMC has. Eckler can run the ball. Eckler can catch the ball at both excellent rates. This guy, I would not be surprised if he had 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. That's just how good of a player Austin Eckler is. And now that Melvin Gordon is gone, it is going to be the Eckler train in LA, and he's going to be doing his signature guitar celebration in the end zone a bunch of times this year. I love Austin Eckler here inside of the second round. To me, you could even pick him in the first round if Joe Mixon was not there. So now, obviously, the picks are going to go through the second and third round. We're going to see a million running backs come off the board, and then the third round, we'll see a bunch of wide receivers come off the board. We're also going to see quarterbacks and tight ends come off the board as well in that 2-3 kind of turn range. So now we are going to go ahead and take a look-see at the draft board and see what actually happened. After we went with Eckler, Kenyon Drake came off the board, followed by Julio Jones, Nicholas Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Godwin, George Kittle, and Mike Evans close out the second round. So not very surprising seeing the big two tight ends, George Kittle and Travis Kelce, come off the board in the second round. You're going to see a different order in pretty much every single draft. In some drafts, people take Kittle first. In other leagues, people take Travis Kelce first. It's really a pick your poison there. I made a tight end ranking video. I prefer Kelce, but hey, that's just me. It's really splitting hairs at the position. We saw Pat Mahomes come in the second round as well, and Lamar Jackson followed in the third round. The third round began with Kenny Golladay, followed by Mr. Lamar Jackson, then Chris Carson, Odell Beckham Jr., Adam Thielen, Allen Robinson, Todd Gurley, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Zach Ertz, and Cooper Kupp. Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson typically do not make it outside of the third round in fantasy this season. I find it interesting that someone drafted Zach Ertz over Mark Andrews. I just feel like Mark Andrews is the much better play. I can see Mark Andrews finishing as like the number one tight end in fantasy, where I really can't see Zach Ertz finishing that high. Just as predicted in the third round, we saw it heavily dominated by the wide receiver position, where only 2 running backs came off the board inside of the third round. That's going to be very typical, but it's something that's also good because people are really staying away from the running backs here. They're not loading up on their flex, where you may be able to sometimes get 3 running backs here to start off your team. To me, I don't really love any of these guys with this pick, but I will probably pick Jonathan Taylor with my 4th round pick after this one. But here, we're going to first get our number 1 wide receiver to add to our roster. So you could pretty much go multiple different directions at this pick. To me, you go Robert Woods, you can go Calvin Ridley. You could, that's probably besides, maybe you can go Juju. I'm not a huge fan of Juju, but I'm also not a big against Juju. I'm kind of in the middle. I feel like Juju Smith-Schuster could have a good season, but he really relies on the health of Big Ben Roethlisberger. If Big Ben is to get hurt again, Juju Smith-Schuster's ADP right here in the third round will have actually bent you over. It'll go straight down the shitter. It will be completely worthless of a pick. If Big Ben stays healthy, Juju has that top 10 potential due to his skill set. So it's really a pick your poison here. If you think Ben can stay healthy, then draft him. If not, don't draft him. I'm more of in the boat of maybe I draft him if I play in like 5 leagues. I draft him in like 1 out of, and then in the other 4, I'd go with a different guy. So here, the other guy that I love is Bobby Trees, Robert Woods of the LA Rams. Once the LA Rams committed to the 2 tight end set in LA, Robert Woods was feasting like Ezekiel Elliott on a Thanksgiving dinner. Robert Woods was absolutely bumfucking these defenses. He was looking better than Cooper Kupp. He was scoring more fantasy points than Cooper Kupp. He was looking like a top 5 fantasy football wide receiver, and he was on a points per game basis down the stretch of the season after their bye week when they committed to the 2 tight end set. So I love Robert Woods here in the third round. He seems very possible to finish inside of the top 12 at the wide receiver position, so I'll happily draft him as my wide receiver 1, because if he finishes inside the top 12, that is a wide receiver 1, and we already have 2 running back 1s, in my opinion, on the team. I'm sorry if that made a loud noise. I kind of just slapped my mic, hit it with the 1-2 Mayweather. So after we went with Robert Woods, now it's time to probably get a running back here. Now, we have to get a running back here. I don't think loading up on 2 wide receivers here would be our best strategy. I think snagging another running back, because by the time we pick again in the 5th round, a zillion picks come off the board because we're right here at the turn. So it's going to take absolutely forever to come back, and there will be some wide receivers here. I think a bunch of running backs may end up getting taken here, and if one running back would to go, it would definitely be Jonathan Taylor. Even though he's down here at 21, he typically is a 3rd or 4th round pick, and I completely back that. I think he will eventually become the lead back in Indianapolis, and that is a coveted position. Phillip Rivers is the quarterback who dumps the ball off to the running back like it's his job. Phillip Rivers is going to hand the ball off. That offensive line is amazing. They have the number 1 ranked offensive line via Pro Football Focus. So that's amazing for Jonathan Taylor. So you just got to hope that he eventually overtakes Marlon Mack, which I think may not even take that long at all. Maybe 2-3 weeks. By the latest, I'd say week 4, week 5, Jonathan Taylor's that head honcho guy. He's your flex right now, but you take him out of the flex. You put him in as your bench, and then instantly, like a couple weeks in, you could have 3 star-studded running backs with Mixon and Eckler and Jonathan Taylor on your team. To me, it is a no-brainer to draft Jonathan Taylor here inside of the 4th round. So now a bunch of running backs, a bunch of wide receivers are going to come off the board, obviously, and we're going to have to figure out what to do at our wide receiver 2. We're probably not drafting a quarterback or a tight end at this spot. I just really don't believe in drafting a quarterback super early in the draft. I feel like you can wait until like the earliest I typically go is maybe the 7th or the 8th round is the earliest I would probably look for a quarterback, and that's if there's supreme value there. Maybe a guy like Kyler, maybe a guy like Russell Wilson are available in that pick. Then I'm going for it. If not, I'm typically kind of staying away. For tight end, if I'm not getting one of those big three guys, in my opinion, Kelsey, Kittle, and Andrews, I typically just wait till the later rounds to snag a tight end. So looking at the board at running back, we have Mock Ingram, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery. So not a lot of guys you'd be super sold on, right, in the 5th round. At wide receiver, there is Tyler, Boyd, Jarvis Landry, Michael Gallup, A.J. Green, Julian Edelman, Marvin Jones, some solid guys here. Let me click on Jarvis real quick because it says he's injured. I mean, I knew he was injured already, so he looks good in practice, not yet ready for full workload is the report. So, I mean, will he play week 1 is the question. Even if he doesn't, then he's going to be fine because you can just put him on your bench. But to be fair, I want a guy that I can play in my roster week 1 and feel comfortable with, especially as my wide receiver too. So I want to go with Tyler, Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I know there's going to be people in the comments going, Nick, you're fucking crazy. How can you draft Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd on the Cincinnati Bengals? That's crazy. You can start 2 players on the same team. You can start 3 players on the same team. Now, sometimes that's a huge liability because if the Bengals get their ass fucked in on week 1 by the LA Chargers, you might be disappointed. But I think Burrow plays good enough for Tyler Boyd to get some fucking touches because he's going to get targets. They're going to throw the ball to him. Even if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's still going to get a bunch of targets in the game, potentially get over 100 yards and be a solid wide receiver too for you. But you're not just drafting for week 1. You're drafting for the whole goddamn season. I think Joe Burrow will progressively keep getting better and better and better, and Joe Burrow's targets that are catchable are going to keep going up, and he is going to look good. In camp, him and Joe Burrow apparently have some type of elite connection, some type of sexual tension that's just making him throw him the ball. Not actually. I don't know why I said that. I thought it'd be funny. Probably wasn't that funny. But Tyler Boyd is going to be an excellent target this year. I like him far more than A.J. Green because if you guys watched the earlier video, I talk about how A.J. Green is just an absolute bum. Not even a bum of a player. Just can't stay healthy. So I don't know why people are drafting A.J. Green. Stay clear away. Draft Tyler Boyd. You hope A.J. Green stays healthy if you have Tyler Boyd because Tyler Boyd puts up more points on an average points per game basis with A.J. Green. But even when Green's hurt, Tyler Boyd still plays fine. So I'll happily draft Tyler Boyd here as my wide receiver too to join this god of a squad that we have drafted already in the first 5 rounds of the draft. So now we have our 6th round selection here, and we're probably going to go double wide receiver action here. Hit him with the 1-2 Mayweather, back-to-back Michael Jordan, 96, 97, and then hop back on the running back train in the 7th and 8th round. I like to say a good rule of thumb is to draft more running backs than wide receivers onto your roster because on the waiver wire, it's going to be so easy to find a running back that you can play. And it's going to be damn near impossible to find some wide receivers that you can play. It's going to be very hard to find running backs that you can play off the waiver wire, but it's going to be very easy to find wide receivers that you can play off the waiver wire. So now it's time to draft some wide receiver. And I like Jarvis, I like Julian Edelman, and I like Marvin Jones a bunch. It's really kind of a crossroad here. I also like Gallup, but the problem with drafting Gallup in the 6th round is I feel like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen there. There's Cooper, there's Gallup, and there's CeeDee Lamb. So that's obviously kind of worrisome. Now, I think Gallup will have his games, and Gallup will be good, so I wouldn't even be that opposed to drafting him since I haven't really drafted him in many leagues, and the guy was a goddamn beast last season, so it shouldn't be all that surprising that he goes in the 6th round. Just with the addition of CeeDee Lamb, it's kind of worrisome, but they're going to throw the ball more, so he should be perfectly fine. So you could go with Michael Gallup here, and that's exactly what we are going to do. We are going to diversify our teams. I haven't picked Gallup all too much, but he's a guy I was a huge fan of last year, and I'm going to be a huge fan of again this season. I think he could put up a good year, so drafting him as my wide receiver 3, a guy that I necessarily don't have to start on a week-to-week basis, and a guy that I could throw in on my flex in a good matchup, definitely means that Michael Gallup is worthy of a 6th-round pick, even though I'd much rather be happier with him in the 7th round, but in a lot of leagues, he is not going to fall that far. So after we draft Michael Gallup, his quarterback, Dakota Prescott, comes off the board, followed by A.J. Green, Jarvis Landry, Kyler Murray, and Russell Wilson. So what we are going to see in these next 2 rounds is what we would describe as a quarterback run, or a situation where guys are going to absolutely shit their pants. You're going to have to give them some new huggies because they are going to be knees weak, arms are heavy, mom spaghetti is ready type deal because they are panicking. Once some couple quarterbacks go, people start to panic. They start to get nervous. They start to think, oh, golly gee, I'm not going to get the running back that I want, and I'm not going to get the quarterback that I want, and then they screw themselves over. So after we went with the Tyler Boyd and Michael Gallup stack, Dak Prescott came off the board, A.J. Green, Jarvis Landry, Kyler, Russell Wilson, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, Gronkowski, way too early for Gronk. Debo Samuel, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Swift, Will Fuller, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Mock Ingram, Josh Allen, Brandon Cooks, Marvin Jones, Jamison Crowder, Matt Ryan, Deontay Johnson, and now it is our pick in the 7th round. So what are you going to be doing here in the 7th round? You could obviously be safe and draft like a tight end here. Oh, but that's not even fun at all, so I'm not going to do that. A lot of quarterbacks are gone. Like I said, that was in the 5th through 7th round. We saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks come off the board, 9, 10 from earlier. So there's already 10 quarterbacks off the board. Only me and one other team do not already have a quarterback. That's team 1 and team number 12, which is us. So we're going to continue to wait at the quarterback position. Maybe that guy takes one, but I'm not too worried. I'll happily just draft a guy like Stafford later and maybe pair him with another guy to feel safe because Stafford does have the Bears week 1, which could be concerning, but I'd still fire him out there anyways because Stafford does typically play fine against the Bears. If you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, I feel like we're about 15 minutes in. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It's free, and I put out content every single goddamn day to help you guys win that championship, so please hop on board if you have enjoyed. I try to make this stuff as entertaining as possible. I'm not just sitting here reading off stats for you guys so you could have a fun time. So after we went ahead and drafted Tyler Boyd and Michael Gallup, now our picks are up here, our 7-12 and our 8-01. So here, first, we're going to go ahead and strike some gold, strike a bit of risk again, potentially here. Looking at running backs, Cam Akers, Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery, James White, Ronald Jones. Now, as I'm recording this, I still have no fucking idea where Leonard Fournette is going to go. He already got picked. Does he go to Chicago? Does he go to LA? Where does he go? I have no clue. Now, his landing spot could come before you even, while you're watching this video, he could already be on a team. And if he is, I already made a video about it. It's already on my channel, and you've already watched it. So congratulations. So you already know. I don't know. Past Nick has no idea. So this could completely screw up this pick if I was to go to Akers, because he could go there. He could go to Chicago as well. Now, I think David Montgomery would be a solid pick here, given he would be my bench player. I could play Michael Gallup as my flex, not really have to worry too much about it. And then a couple weeks into the season, once Montgomery's good, and once I see him do it once on the field where he looks healthy, boom, you're firing David Montgomery into the lineup, and he has top 12 running back potential on a given week. If you want to be super safe here, you go with James White. The guy's a PPR monster. He's going to get dump-offs every game. Even with Cam Newton, he's going to look good. So you go with the safety route, or you can go with probably the medium risk route, which is Cam Akers of the LA Rams. Maybe, just maybe, Leonard Fournette ends up there, which would completely screw Cam Akers in the pooch. But I think Cam Akers will be good this season. So that's also something that's complicated because now I have 2 running backs if I was to do that with Jonathan Taylor and Cam Akers, who it may take multiple weeks to become the head honcho starting running back, the lead workhorse back of the team. So do you want to do that with the team we have compiled so far? I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go with the safest pick here and go with running back James White of the New England Patriots. But I would not despite you for wanting to be slightly more risky and go with Cam Akers or maybe go with David Montgomery there. We could honestly probably snag both. We already have 3 wide receivers. I can snag a bunch of wide receivers later, so we could kind of just mitigate the risk there and take James White, obviously, as the safer pick, and then go with maybe a more risky guy. I do like Ronald Jones as well, and man, Fournette could end up there as well. He really could, but if he doesn't, I love Ronald Jones, and I might take him above Cam Akers, even though I love Cam Akers so much. So I'm going to do it. I'm taking Ronald Jones here. He's not coming back to the 9th round. Even if Fantasy Pros show something down here that says, oh, Nick, you dumb motherfucker, Ronald Jones would have been there in the next round. Oh, it didn't say that. It's funny when it says that. So now we are back into the 9th round of the draft. I'm going to obviously recap what happened so far, and then we're going to go ahead and talk my thought process behind this 9th round pick. Now, I saw someone took a defense. Don't be the asshole that takes a defense early. It's just not worth it. The 49ers defense, or whoever was the best defense last season, never repeats. They never go back to back. It's always a defense that is going to get super talked up. The Bears last year, people are drafting them super early. What did the Bears return? Not the number 1 defense, so it wasn't even worth it at all. So don't waste an 8th round pick where you can snag your backup running. Look, this motherfucker has Dalvin Cook, Mark Ingram, and Darrell Henderson. He could have drafted Dalvin Cook, Mark Ingram, then Matt Breida, Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard, and Darrell Henderson instead of having the San Francisco 49ers defense. It just makes no sense to me. After the Niners defense, we see, or actually, I don't even know if I went back here, so we'll just go back. Take that, rewind it back. Lil John got the something to make the booty go. Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery, Cam Akers, Christian Kirk, John Brown, Philip Lindsay, 49ers defense, Tariq Cohen, J.K. Dobbins, Matt Breida, Pittsburgh Steelers defense, Kerryon Johnson, Sterling Shepard, Jordan Howard, Emmanuel Sanders, Darrell Henderson, Darius Slayton, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Buffalo Bills defense, Sony Michel, and Jerry Jeudy. Now, Sony Michel, man, I have no idea what's happening with him. I have no idea if he's going to start. I have no idea if Damian Harris is going to start. So I'm just picking Damian Harris later, saying fuck off to Sony Michel, even though I did like him a lot. But that arthritis knee is scary. Like Terry McLaurin in the 5th round, one of my favorite wide receivers. So we're going to load up on one more running back here. We're going to, Here we are with a tough decision because I don't know if Hayden Hurst will fall back another round if I don't pick him here. And I kind of need another wide receiver. I think I need another wide receiver. So I'm probably going to go wide receiver and Hurst. So first we're going to just secure Hurst, get him onto the squad. Now I would not be opposed to drafting Zach Moss here. He's probably the best target here. But I don't want to miss out on some of these wide receivers that I really like here. Reagor obviously injured, so that's a real feels bad, man. Ends up getting hurt. He'll avoid surgery. He'll miss the first 4 weeks of the season. So take that as you will. I still draft him? Yes, but I'd have to draft him later. Now, Deshaun Jackson is the week 1 starter. He is the guy I would honestly draft him in the 12th round just to win week 1 because he's going to drop 200-plus yards week 1. Maybe. No, probably not actually. But 100-plus yards, multiple touchdowns. He is the king of week 1 and the king of revenge games. They're playing the Washington football team week 1, his former team. He's going to blow them up. So I'm going to go with Anthony Miller here, though. Anthony Miller is one of my favorite late-round wide receiver targets. I think under 9-inch Nick Foles, this offense will run much better. And Anthony Miller already showed how good of a player he was last season. So don't be surprised if Anthony Miller is really screaming up the draft board. Not even screaming up the draft board because he already did. He went from being like a 13th round pick to a 10th round pick. But I still buy in on it because I love me some Anthony Miller. I think the Chicago offense looks much better under 9-inch Nick compared to Kissin' Titties Mitchell Trubisky. So now here, probably Moss is going to be gone, so we're not going to be able to get him. We could get some other running backs here, but we're probably going to end up drafting a quarterback before people start drafting their backup quarterback because you don't want to be that asshole who's stuck without one of those guys that you think is probably worthy of being a starter. And then a bunch of people could start taking backups, and then you're ending up with an even worse starter, and you're going to want to blow your brains out. So after we went with Anthony Miller, Henry Ruggs came out the board, followed by Keshawn Vaughn, Golden Tate, Tyler Higbee, me, Cole Hardman, Marlon Mack, Zach Moss, the guy I like, Latavius Murray, Jalen Reagor, Tevin Coleman, Preston Williams, Alexander Mattison, Mike Williams, Antonio Gibson, Baltimore Ravens defense, Robbie Anderson, Sammy Watkins, Noah Fant, Duke Johnson, Tony Pollard, Rashad Perryman, and Brandon Ayuk. So now it is our pick yet again. I believe I already recapped all of that. I hope I did because I paused for a second because I need to get a drink of water because I was getting a bit parched because we were in the 11th round of the draft. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed thus far. My 11th round pick, we're a bit late to do this, is brought to you by Manscaped.com. If you want to have the cleanest shaved balls in your league, if you want to have your balls smelling A1 like the goddamn steak sauce, get that ball deodorant on Manscaped. It's my favorite thing on there. I talk about it all the time. I got it behind me. It's sitting over there on the couch. I use it every single day to make that stuff smell A1 down there. So make sure you check out Manscaped.com. You want the cleanest shave. You want to be looking like a beautiful man down there. Make sure you click that down below. Manscaped.com/notoriousfan or it's Manscaped.com. Code Notorious at checkout for 20% off as well as free shipping. So you're not going to want to miss out on that beautiful deal. So now it's time to make our 11th round selection here. We already have a bunch of running backs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. So we need one more running back at least out of these next guys to make sure that we solidify our running back quota of having more running backs than wide receivers. Here, a guy that I'm kind of starting, Rock Armstead. You just have to pick him here. I'm not even the biggest fan of Rock Armstead, but his situation is great here for the Jacksonville Jaguars, so I'm going to go ahead and snag Rock Armstead here later in the draft. And now we're going to have to go ahead and snag a wide receiver. No, actually, we're going to go quarterback before people start taking backups. I'm not the biggest fan of Carson Wentz. I am a bigger fan of Stafford, but at the end of the day, I have Wentz ranked higher. They're both injury concerns, but I think when Wentz is healthy, he's going to be good. He has that rushing ability. So we're going to go with Wentz here, but I would not dispute you wanting to go Matthew Stafford there at all. I typically would take Stafford there, but like I said, guys, I try to diversify the teams on a week-to-week basis, and don't draft two quarterbacks. You can just cut someone and pick one up, because one of these guys is going to be completely garbage on the bench, and they're going to get cut. That's just always how it is. Even though I like the guy, even though I've done all the research, they may end up getting hurt as well, which will result in them getting cut. So after we went with Carson Wentz, Austin Hooper came off the board, followed by Aaron Rodgers, Curtis Samuel, Boston Scott, Chase Edmonds, Jared Cook, Adrian Peterson, Deshaun Jackson, Mike Gesicki, Likiama Gesicki, Naheem Hines, Matthew Stafford, Wham Bam, Cam Newton, Alshon Jeffrey, Danny Dimes, Justin Jackson, I wanna feel. Followed by Larry Fitzgerald, A.J. Dillon, Damian Harris, LaShawn McCoy, Carlos Hyde, Chicago Bears defense, and Chris Thompson. So now it's time to get a final player to our roster. We're going to go with a wide receiver here. It's between Lazard, Harry, Pittman. There's a lot of guys. Chenault, Cobb, even down here. Cole Beasley might have some upside if Brown was to go down or something. So you can go with any of these guys. Pick of the litter. I'm going to go with Allen Lazard here. Now, he's a guy that a lot of people are going to sip the fucking Kool-Aid on, really buy into him, draft him way too early because he's the wide receiver 2 on Green Bay. Now, that actually hasn't happened yet. I haven't seen it happen yet, but I wouldn't be surprised in some leagues if that does end up happening. So now we got to draft our kicker and defense. So we're going to start off here with our kicker and go with my main man, Harrison Bucker the fucker of the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we're going to recap the next couple of picks, and then we're going to draft our defense. So before I even do the recap of our team, please make sure to click that subscribe button. So now we're going to have to get a kicker here. Pretty simple. I mean, our defense here, pretty simple. You just want a defense playing a not-so-hot opponent week 1. That's who you're going to draft. So looking at the draft board, let's see, Jamal Williams came off the board, Ben Roethlisberger, T.J. Hawkinson, Jared Cook, and Chris Herndon were the only, not real players, because kicker and defense, they're real fucking players, but not for the purpose of recapping, because I don't think you need to recap the order of defense and kickers going. We're going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles going up against, wait, who are the Broncos playing? Tennessee. Indianapolis is playing Gardner. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Dallas is playing the Rams. That could be okay, but I'm going to go with the Eagles against the Washington football team, and I'm going to make a video every week telling you guys who to pick up at defense. We got an A-. Huge claps all around the room for us, baby. A-, but it should have been an A+ because this roster is fuego, A1. And we got our team is comprised of quarterback Carson Wentz. Our 2 running backs are Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler. Our wide receivers are Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, and Tyler Boyd. Our tight end is Hayden Hurst. Our flex is John O'God. Taylor, our defense is the Eagles. Our kicker is Harrison Bucker the fucker. Our bench is comprised of Michael Gallup, James White, Ronald Jones, Anthony Miller, Rock Armstead, and Allen Lazard. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If you want more videos just like this, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. I love each and every single one of you guys, and I'll see you guys later, or tomorrow, with more videos. Make sure to use code Manscaped, or code Notorious on manscaped.com as well, and check out the Patreon for more information on how to dominate your goddamn draft. I love you all, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Good boy.